anybody else?
Yes.
Or just him? Okay.
Vince, do you think you'll have to sell the next head coach a little bit more to the fan base than you would have obviously at Jefferson?
I would hope not. I mean, I think that you know, the idea of having to sell a candidate is a weird thought. I know it comes up a lot. You know, I feel like if we have the right fit, that people can figure it out. You know, you're never, as I say in this role, one thing you learn in being an AD is you're never going to have a unanimous consent on any decision you make. I'm not looking for it, to be honest. But I still feel like we've made a lot of great decisions in 14 months, and when we've made ones that may be a little off, we learn from them, we do a post-mortem on it, figure out how to do it better the next time. But I realize I don't know, it's hard to say. I guess just having made decisions on choosing CEOs in the past, and you get down to it, you get better at it. And I think that's where that experience helps in this process. You got to have a great crap detector, and I've got one. So,
have you, with Jeff's decision coming out yesterday, have you broadened your horizons any, especially with some of the reports of other people coming forward in wake of that announcement?
Yeah. That's the cool thing about it, is it is a process. It doesn't start and stop on a specific timeline. And I had a hint, you have a hunch that there's got to be other interest, even though we got a lot. I mean, I've had to say no, and to people that don't fit, and then their agents want to oversell you on why they are a fit. Or I talk to the AD and figure out maybe this isn't the right fit for us. But in this case, as soon as that, we had our comment ready, Jeff had his ready. I said, I'll wait for yours, and then we'll send ours. He sent, we did that, and then boom, when his got out, my phone immediately, bing, 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 was happening, and I dealt with those calls last night, and then today, to be honest, it's been more. But as I'm walking in the door, got another high quality candidate that has interest. Yeah, I think it's natural for today as people are sorting it out and agents are calling and trying to track down their coaches and talk to them and say, wouldn't you wanna? Because this is a hell of an opportunity. We don't pay minimum wage, we got great facilities, we got great fan support, and we're in a conference where I think we can compete and get to the playoffs.
Is past head coaching experience a prerequisite for this?
No, but I've been clear up front, and unless you're really a coordinator that's a veteran that's been in really a top school that is competing for a national championship, and you've been a good reason for that. I think I don't want to risk their ability putting together a staff unless they really get it. So that's why I've leaned on head coaching experience more than not.
Vince, I heard this morning you were out actually recruiting, getting some of these kids. What are you telling these recruits, and also what are they telling you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've got to know some of the recruits locally during the process, and I obviously made stops today, and I've got a few more to finish up tomorrow. I know I started with, I think I go to Cal, and then to Trinity and Manual, and maybe Mail before that, depending on when their practice is and those things. But hit some today. I think you talk to the kids that are in the 19 class. But I'm pretty, I've been pretty open about it, even when they've been here on unofficial. It's about our goals haven't changed, our expectations. They know that we're not going to go backwards. I sell them on all the attributes of the program, not on just the head coach. And I sell the families on the attributes, what Louisville has to offer in terms of academic, life skills, our support to those kids, down to we're going to make sure they get their proper nutrition and sleep and all those, as well as getting a degree. But you're selling those aspects, and then you are selling that we have had 2 terrific classes back to back here, and wouldn't you like to be stapled to those classes coming in, even though it's a small class, and let's come in with a coach that's going to take that and move it forward.
Have you considered maybe what the philosophies for the next coach might be, maybe offensive or defensive minded? Do you kind of look at that much?
Well, I've said before, it's not a requirement, but it's probably a preference to put points on the board. There's a lot of high scoring that goes on in college football today. When spread offenses came around, everybody's in the pistol. Things did change, and I think our fans have always enjoyed that. Going back to as we moved through conferences, one thing that was consistent was we scored points. And I think that's been fun. We've had shootouts in West Virginia, and our blackout was probably one of my favorite games. And those are things that I think when you ask our fans about their favorite games, it's usually those where we scored a lot of points and had a lot of fun. So I think that is a pedigree of ours that would be nice to replicate, but not a requirement.
Vince,
Have you
you've talked
considered hiring a search firm?
No, I don't. You know, Jake, to be honest, I think with what we have to offer, and I could have, but I'm comfortable in that decision because of what's happened since we announced that we're parting ways with Bobby. The amount of inflow we've had, I think, has been high quality and interesting and variety of experiences. But got current head coaches and even former head coaches.
You talked in the last 18 days a lot about culture,
Yes.
discipline with the players and the program. When you're looking for candidates, will you cross someone off that doesn't fit because of maybe
Already
something
have.
in their history? And are you doing all that yourself?
Yes.
Okay.
So I do a lot of vetting. I'm not afraid to make calls and check references, but I think that as an athletic department, we are on probation. It may have occurred through basketball, but we are on probation, and I'm not interested in taking a lot of risk with a head coach or with kids. And I think that I've made that clear to our current players and staff and to the athletic department as a whole. So I think as we look at what this individual brings in terms of culture and discipline off the field, it's important. I've talked to a couple of the other ADs in our conference who have very successful programs about how they developed that. I love learning from them, and we're applying that. So I could tell you about some really great names that have done some good things in college football that I've had to move to the side.
Are you down to a set number of candidates now? Is it still fluid?
It's a little fluid, but I would tell you that I've vetted it out. We're certainly, I'd say, under 5 at this point. But as I said, I walk in the door and get an unexpected call from a terrific candidate as well to give some more thought to.
Agent of the candidate or the candidate himself?
No, representative of the candidate.
Is next week, do you want to have something finished by the end of next week? Does it matter timing right now with you after, kind of what you've been through the last 18 days? Do you need next week to be done?
Well, I've said before that I think we have the flexibility we wouldn't normally have because we only have 11 scholarships available to offer, and we have commitments to fill up a good portion of those, and those commitments are solid from my calls with the kids. And so it does give us a little bit of breathing room. I don't want to take advantage of that because you don't want to lose a good candidate to another school. There's, you guys know the Power Fives are open, and they're looking at the same guys, in many cases. So, whether they're at a Power Five or not, they're getting the calls for these same opportunities. And so I don't want to take that for granted. So I think a reasonable time frame is to get it done next week. With my schedule through the weekend, and then we have the National Football Foundation meeting in New York. I'll be up there, for a couple days, and then hope to get this wrapped up as the weekends.
Are there certain candidates within that group of 5 or so that you can't talk to until after this weekend?
No, I mean, you're available to talk to them. I mean, nobody's restricted conversation or meetings. I think I've just tried to look at, my schedule matched with their schedule. But you can get a lot done on the phone. You can do a lot of research to ask those things before you get eyeball to eyeball and decide whether they're legit.
You've been active in recruiting, as you said, and also this search in addition to your normal schedule. What are your top priorities with all that's going? Right. What are your top priorities with all that's going on? And also, you mentioned you have a small senior class. In a coaching search, you can expect attrition. Do you try to recruit more than 11 with the hope of signing more than 11?
Yeah, I think that we're recruiting more than 11 for sure. I mean, we sit down and go through the list of, Pete Nocton runs our recruiting, go through it. We went through it again, yesterday before, and I've got my own notebook full of my schools and candidates and talk about who's next, and then making calls with our coaches while they're on the road. So I'm doing recruiting calls while we're playing Michigan State. I'm down in Chris's office, talking to families and kids, with Grady or whoever's out on the road. So that's happening as well. But yeah, we're definitely looking at broader than 11 because you don't know. It's until they put the ink on the paper on the signing date. And I don't know that all of them will sign on the 19th, but I think having a head coach will solidify that. I also know that there's kids out there that are looking or committed elsewhere that are really intrigued with what we have going on. So I'm not just talking to kids that are there's kids thinking about other places for sure, or maybe lined up at other places that had a lot of interest in Louisville, and you know we're going to continue to recruit till the very end.